Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the parade from the Spring Crank Up hosted by the Maryland Steam Historical Society, April 20th of 2024.
And I'm going to start off with the first one here. I have a John Deere A. It belongs to the Graff Family Collection in Hampstead, Maryland. Up next we have a John Deere right now we're looking at a John Deere Model BR. It's a 1940, also owned by the Graff Family Collection. Here we have a John Deere G. It's a 1950, also owned by the Graff family. Up next, we got a pretty little lady in pink tails on a pink John Deere. It is owned by Gunnar Rosalie Decker out of Hampstead, and it's a John Deere 1965 110 lawnmower. And the cart. Hi! She is one cutie, let me tell you. And here we have her little brother, LJ Decker, on his... Huh? Oh, it's her cousin on his little John Deere. Up next, we have coming up a John Deere Diesel 80. And it's owned by Jimmy Decker III. Of a rough bumpy ride. She is driving a 1933 Farmall F12. It was restored by Tommy Wright and Henley, and it's owned by Beverly Wise out of Ridgely, Maryland. Up next we have a John Deere B, 1948, owned by Tim and Kim Replica. I know, I try not to torture them, but close enough? Okay, they're out of Manchester. Here we got a Ferguson 30. It's a 1952, owned by Wayne Taylor out of Finksburg. Looks like a little 8N to me. Not quite, but close. Here we got a Snapper lawnmower. It's owned by Colton Strauss from Littlestown, PA. It's a 1982. Here we got a Cub Lowboy, also owned by Colton Strauss, and this is a 1972 Cub Lowboy. Here we got a McCormick Deering Farmall, 1949. Its nickname is Cub, and it's owned and restored by the Ayers family from Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. This young fella doesn't want to get the pizza lost. This is Camden Cat from Lineborough, Maryland, and he is driving an 8-horsepower wheel horse lawnmower. they got that little putt-putt 6-cylinder sound. Here we got a John Deere 420 lawnmower. And we have Dustin Almany driving the John Deere 420. Here we have a John Deere 430. And it is owned by Connor Morrison out of Hampstead, Maryland. This is a Massey Harris 44 owned by Wes and Jerry John. I'm sorry. We're still working out the kinks. So here we have an Alice Chalmers. It's owned by Frank Dukes out of Westminster, and it's an Alice Chalmers U. And I recognize this fella from a ways away. This is Mark Bitzler on his 1955 Oliver. He's from Westminster, Maryland. Awesome. It got first place with my nephew driving in the tractor pull today. Congratulations, Sterling. Here we have a John Deere made in the USA. Tractors like potato chips, you just can't have one. Gosh, I know that one. This is owned by Robert Wheeler and is a 1951 John Deere AR. This is a John Deere 1941H. And that's Daniel Dell, and he's got a one row plow behind it. This is a 1949M John Deere. He's also got a one row plow on it. Here we have a 1978 G12XL Boland's lawnmower owned by Matt Baird out of Cockeysville, Maryland. And he's got his family in tow. And here we have Brianne Lookable out of Spring Grove. She's driving a 72 Cub Cadet, and it looks like she's got some family in tow as well. It's an Alice Chalmers golf cart. And this is Fred Lockaball out of Hanover, Maryland. Don't see too many of those. Here we have a diesel John Deere R owned by Derek Almany. And he's got a little cutie helping him to drive. Here we have Jack Johnson on a Minneapolis Moline. It's a M670 with the 880 Workmaster bucket. Here we have a 1944 Alice Chalmers B owned by Glenn and Tammy Blutcher. Don't know if I pronounced that right, but if I pronounced it wrong, I'm sorry. And they're out of Glenwood, Maryland. Here we have Alice Chalmers 1949G with a set of, it's a set of corn, Yes, I was like, I knew what they were, but my words wouldn't come to me. It's got cultivators on it, and it's owned by Randy Pickett out of Woodbine, Maryland. 65 Don C. Okay, here we have a 65 Diamond T There you go. Up here we have Bill Eason, Mr. Sunflower from Oxford, Maryland. It's a 1996 E-Z-GO Truckster. Thank you. Thank you. Here we have Layman Odell from Huntington, Maryland on a 1946 Avery V. And it's also got some cultivators on it. Here we have another Avery tractor. It's owned by Willie Parker from Huntington, Maryland, and it's a 1950 BF Avery. Here we have a John Deere 210 lawnmower owned by Lance Gunnett out of York, PA. Here we have a little McCormick Farmall lawnmower with a Briggs & Stratton engine, owned by Braden Warner out of York, PA. It's a mini Farmall. Here we have Jesse Forey from Seven Valleys on a 1970 Wheelhouse Horse Raider 12. Here we have a McCormick Diesel Super WD-9 owned by the Burke family out of Finksburg. Here we have a John Deere 420. It is also owned by the Burke family from Finksburg, Maryland. And it's got a little cutie driving it. I heard some talk about this tractor earlier today. This is an Orchard W6. It's a 1942. This is also owned by the Burke family from Finksburg. Here we have Oliver Row Crop 70. It is owned by the farm at 1920 in Hampstead, Maryland. And that is of 1946 Oliver Row Crop. That's the brand I grew up partial to. So my son has lots of them. This is an International 04. It's a 1948. Owned by Wade Kern. We're trying to work out the kinks, folks. Here, this gentleman has a bit of a rough ride, too. He said, yes, it is. This is a 1939 Ford Ferguson. Owned by Ira and Josh Barnes. It has a saw blade hook too. It's three-point hitch. And those steel wheels I don't envy. Here we have a Cub Cadet International. Owned by Jay Davis from Parkton, Maryland. Here we have a 1949 Farmall H. This is owned by the Ayers family out of Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. Here we got an Alice Chalmers coming up, owned by Frank Dumps owned by Frank Dunks from Westminster, Maryland. It's a 1952 Alice Chalmers CA. Here we have a Boland's lawnmower. It is owned by Grayson Mennett out of Boring, Maryland, and it's a 1985 Boland. Here we got a nice fire truck. Let's see. It is owned by Jason Barnes out of Camber, Maryland, and it's a 1973 Ward LaFrance. It's a 1946 John Deere L. And that is being driven by Wendy Albany. Here we have another John Deere. This is a John Deere 40. It is owned by Jack Etchison. And that's his great-grandfather's tractor. Way to keep it in the family. And last but not least, we have a Cub Cadet International, and it's owned by Kylie Yarger from Upper Cove, Maryland. I like to see the ladies on the tractors. That lets you know it's not all a man's sport. So we